So, HOA burned my lake mansion to the ground over unpaid HOA fees, then showed up in my courtroom? I knew something was wrong the moment I turned off the highway and saw the smoke. Thick, black, rolling over the lake like a storm that refused to move. My heart hammered as I floored the gas and tore down the gravel path toward my mansion, the place I'd spent 8 years rebuilding after my wife's death, the only piece of her laughter I had left. When I reached the clearing, I slammed on the brakes. The house, the 3-story cedar and stone home Emma and I built from scratch, was nothing but a boiling skeleton of charred beams and falling ash. And standing in front of the ruins, hands on his hips like a man inspecting a garden project, was HOA President Mason Loudy, flanked by 2 private security guards wearing badges they definitely weren't authorized to own. "Mr. Rowan," he called out, not even flinching at the flames behind him, "your property has been abated due to delinquent fees and multiple non-compliance violations." My throat closed. Delinquent fees? I paid cash, up front, every year. Violations? I hadn't received a single notice. When I asked what authority he had to torch my home, he handed me a laminated card with the HOA seal and a forged judge's signature beneath an order claiming the house was unsafe, abandoned, and subject to emergency demolition. I told him I'd been out of town for 2 days. His smile never reached his eyes. "Then you should have paid your dues." The sheriff said it was an HOA matter. My land deed, older than the HOA itself, didn't matter to anyone. So I set up a camper, pulled out the box of files I kept for insurance, and began digging. Even a small lie leaves fingerprints, and Mason's lies had fingerprints sprayed across everything. The first crack appeared when I found 10 certified violation letters stamped with dates for months when I wasn't even in the state. The second came from a neighbor, old Miss Green, who whispered over her fence that Mason had forced out 4 owners last year using the same unsafe structure trick, and every one of those homes had been purchased by the same anonymous investment trust. I called my friend Carter, a former cyber fraud investigator. Within a week, we had something monstrous. The HOA wasn't just enforcing rules, they were running a flippin' scam, labeling properties as abandoned, burning them down with fake safety orders, then transferring the land to a shell company Mason secretly owned. My mansion, the most valuable lakefront property, was the final piece of his $1-million puzzle. But the real twist came when Carter pulled the metadata off Mason's demolition order and found it had been signed on my computer. Someone had broken into my home before burning it. Someone who knew where my office was. Someone who left my safe cracked open and empty. Inside that safe had been the only thing more valuable than the house, the original pre-HOA development plat proving half the lake, including my land, was never legally under HOA jurisdiction. Mason thought burning the building would erase the evidence. What he didn't know was that Emma had scanned every document the week before she died, and I still had those scans backed up on an old dusty drive she labeled in her handwriting, "just in case." That "just in case" became the hammer that cracked the entire conspiracy open. I walked into the courthouse the day of the emergency hearing with a binder full of proof. Video of the Arson team removing my cameras, copies of the fraudulent shell companies, and the notarized development plat showing my land was sovereign. The courtroom was packed. Mason entered wearing a smug grin, until he saw the state attorney general sitting beside me. When I submitted the forged demolition order, the judge's face hardened. When I submitted the shell company records, Mason's grin vanished. And when Carter played the security footage of Mason's hired men planting the forged documents inside my house the night before the fire, the judge ordered deputies to cuff Mason and every board member involved. The courtroom erupted. Mason started screaming that it was all legal, that I was lying, that he owned the whole lake. But the line that ended his career and his freedom came from the judge himself. "Son, the only thing you own now is a prison jumpsuit." Mason was sentenced to 9 years for arson, fraud, racketeering, and attempted land theft. His entire board pled guilty. The HOA dissolved within weeks,
And thanks to the restitution order, insurance payout, and community volunteers who came out of nowhere offering help, I rebuilt the mansion exactly as Emma drew it in a sketchbook. But the final twist? The anonymous trust Mason used to steal everyone's homes? The state seized it, and after a long battle, they transferred the entire lakefront tract, including the land of every victim Mason bullied, into a community foundation under my name. No HOA, no board, no fines, just neighbors. The day I reopened my rebuilt home, a widow from next door hugged me and said, "He burned your house, but he burned his kingdom." She was right. They tried to erase my life. Instead, they erased themselves.
Every neighborhood has its secrets, and every Karen leaves her mark. If you love true HOA stories like this, make sure to watch more on our channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life neighborhood drama. Thank you.